All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Austin Andres. I work in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at Temple University. In addition to working at Temple, I'm also a Temple alumni. So I graduated with a degree in tourism and hospitality management from Temple. I love Temple. I'm very proud to be Temple made. So it's exciting for me to get to work in admissions and help prospective students and parents learn about Temple and then ultimately fall in love with Temple. So tonight we are hosting what we like to call a parent hangout. So I'm going to introduce our special guest, Steve Levine. Steve will tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll get started with the hangout. So Steve.
Thank you, Austin. First off, it's a privilege to be talking about my favorite institution, Temple University. I'm totally Temple made, and I bleed cherry and white. I'm an alum. I went to the Fox School of Business, and I also met my wife at Temple, who was at the Fox School of Business. We have one child, and her name is Tara, and she ended up majoring in SMC, the School of Media and Communication, and she has just had an incredible time at Temple, personally, as well as through internships and everything, and we just could not be more pleased. She's really gotten the max out of her college experience. She's turned out that she's a rock star student. She's in the honor school. She studied abroad in London, and she had an internship there. And she's also had some other internships as well. And she's also done spring breaks where she's had the opportunity to help rebuild homes in New Orleans. And she also did another alternative spring break in Oklahoma City, where she helped people who were victims of tornadoes. So to me, you can't really measure, what that means to me as a parent, to her as a young adult. Those things are immeasurable, and they're life-changing events that she'll take with her for the rest of her life.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like she has taken full advantage of all that Temple has offered. So that's great.
Absolutely. And she started out not knowing her major. She went in undeclared. And the reason she chose Temple, because actually I did not push her into that decision. She was ready to go to school in Boston. And she just said, I fell in love with Temple, and I want to have one agreement with my parents, which is treat me like I'm 8 hours away. So that's our agreement. We treat her like she's 8 hours away. And one of the beautiful things is that she went in undeclared. Eventually, she was liberal arts, and then she was religious studies. And the great thing about Temple is that no matter what direction she went, she had great professors, great advisors, and she still finished within her 4-year interim, even though she changed majors. So, it's wonderful. And as we all know, SMC is also a great program, which is, what she's getting her degree in.
Yeah, that's great. Temple does offer over 120 different majors, so it's nice for some students who come in undecided, test the waters a bit with their interest, and then are able to eventually find a major. So it's nice, and you can still do that with the ability to graduate in 4 years. So
Yeah.
I'm a testament to that. I did change my major as well. I started out as journalism and then ended up in tourism and hospitality management. Still was able to graduate in 4 years. So it is a nice benefit that Temple offers for students.
Absolutely. And of course, with the Fly in 4 program, Temple stands behind the fact that the students will be out in 4 years, or Temple pays the rest of the way, if you will. But I always advise young people, get to know your advisors, take advantage of them, because they're amazing. They have been just so critical in helping her find her path and really helping her map out, her next phase of career, if you will.
Great. All right. Well, so that leads us into a few questions that I have for you. Being that we are at the end of our admission cycle right now, we just admitted the class of fall in 2015. So we have a lot of parents right now with questions still about Temple, about getting involved and being involved with their child at Temple. So most of the questions are geared towards parents who of accepted students, whether they've deposited to come to Temple or not. So I would love to just jump in.
Okay.
So the question that I have for you is, how many colleges did you visit with Tara before making the decision to come to Temple? And what is one thing that set Temple apart from the rest?
Sure. So she applied to, I believe it was 4 or 5 schools, and we visited each one. She got into all of them. And it was interesting because being that I did not push Temple at all, she kind of went there towards the end of the cycle. She had visited, um, many of the great institutions in Pennsylvania where she was accepted, and she decided that she really wanted an urban environment. She liked the fact she had access to the city, and what I think set it apart was Temple felt like a family to her. In other words, it was a large school with a lot of resources, but she didn't feel like she was a number. She really felt that, when she had questions about whether it was her application or whether it was about the honors program or whether it was about her major or what her eventual major might be, she always felt that they really cared and really took the time to, as if it was a boutique college, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's immeasurable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example. I felt the same way when I came to Temple, that there was so much offered to students, being that we are a large institution and we have those opportunities, but you still felt important and you got that one-on-one attention. So it's great to hear that Tara, as well as you guys, felt that when you visited here as well.
Absolutely. And it doesn't start and stop in admissions. I mean, it has continued. So, whether it was a professor that she, got to know because she wanted to learn more about a certain topic or a certain subject, or whether it was an advisor, or whether it was another program that she went on was an immersion program where she lived on the border. She really got engaged deeply with the folks, at Temple, and they really do care. And so it's not one of these situations where you see them on the first day and they disappear. It's not like that at all. In fact, it's total opposite. And one thing I would say to alum is that it's not your mom or your daddy's Temple University. It's really grown as a campus, and the resources are just incredible. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to jump into another question that kind of relates to that. So as a parent, are you satisfied with the various departments that you can interact with? So such as financial aid, maybe the housing department, campus safety. Can you speak about maybe an instance where you've interacted with one of those departments, and are you satisfied with the services they provide?
Sure. So I've actually interfaced with even dean of students, and she was amazing. It's amazing to me. They remember the students by name. If I go to homecoming, for example, they'll remember that they had met me. I've met them on many different occasions, and it's really something to see the fact that with all the students that pass through the doors, they really do take personal care and get to know you. As far as security and safety go, often I go to basketball games on campus, and I've never once ever felt threatened or anything like that, not even close, not even remote. For parents who think that there's lots of security on campus because it's a visiting day, it's like that all the time. And in fact, there's something that I remember reading that was a report that came out in Philadelphia. The Temple is, I believe, the safest school within Philadelphia. And it doesn't surprise me because you can go there at night, you can visit during the day. There's always security around, and it's just a really energetic place. And it's just one of those. I think that's a misconception sometimes that is out there. But I would encourage parents to visit and visit anytime they'd like, and they'll see what I just basically mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have our own police force. We have a lot of measures in place, whether it be our stadium lighting or our call boxes and such. But we do that because we are in an urban environment, and campus safety is one of our main priorities, keeping our students and our faculty, our staff, our parents safe.
Yeah. And if I may just jump in quickly, so Tara started out living in 1300, which is, for no better term, quote unquote dorm space on campus. Then she went to live in the Phi Sig house, which is the other side of the complete opposite side of campus. Then she went and studied overseas, so she was in London for a semester. And then when she came back, she had an apartment. And even though considered, I'll say, quote unquote off campus, it's within the patrol zone. So I would encourage parents that if your student wants to move to an apartment, just get a map. You can get them from security, and they basically show you the limits of the patrol zone, which recently were extended even. So the patrol zone really stretches, if you will. And it's just like, it is the same as being on campus. There's no difference. So, so I think whether you're in quote unquote off-campus housing that's within the patrol zone, or you're within traditional, I'll call it dormitory space, although the dorms aren't so traditional. If you go through them, they're really nice. You can feel secure that they're safe. And I do remember visiting her in 1300, and I would have to give my license. And even though they knew me, it was always the same exercise every time, which gave me great security.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all great points. So thank you for mentioning.
Oh, sure.
So I'm going to jump to a different side. I know you
Sure.
had mentioned that Tara is part of Phi Sig, which is one of our sororities on campus. She traveled abroad, so it seems like she has taken advantage of a lot of those opportunities. So can you just speak to the different clubs and organizations that she's joined, the internships, how have they really shaped her experience? And being that you're a parent, what is one of the things that you're so happy she took advantage of as a Temple student?
Sure. So when she basically saw the different clubs that were out during, I guess it's Welcome Week, there were lots of choices, and it's a great opportunity to sort of find your niche. And the cool thing about Temple, of course, is if there's a club that's not there, you always have the ability to start one. So she happened to have connected well with Phi Sig, and it's not what one might think, that it's a partying sorority or anything like that. Basically, they give a lot back to the communities, as do other sororities and fraternities, I'm glad to say. So I remember going to a Bowling for Boobs thing that they had down in Center City, and it was really great to see that all the money and the proceeds, were going to a great cause against breast cancer. And so those were the kinds of events that was really heartwarming for me to see that she was getting involved with. She was also involved with Hillel, where she became president of the Hillel, which is a wonderful place, not only if you're Jewish, because they also have a delicatessen that you can use your diamond dollars and you can use your meal plan with. So if somebody's in the mood for a little New York deli or whatever, they can go down to Hillel. And also they have a great rooftop there, and it's just a really nice place to study and hang out. So she was also president of that. I don't know how she fit all this in, but one of the things I do remember Stephanie Ives, the dean, saying is that typically the busy students are the ones who really get the most out of their situations. If they're working and they're staying busy, they're not finding they're not opportunities, but finding situations where they're bored, they're depressed, they're not having really an enriching time in college. So I'm really glad, and she, like you suggested, she did take advantage of it, and it's all right there for any student. Whether you're a quiet student, whether you're an outgoing student, there's something there for every interest level.
I agree. We do have so many clubs and organizations. They can range from clubs and organizations centered around your major or professional fun organizations. So like you said, there's a broad spectrum of activities for any type of Temple student to get involved in. And a lot of times those activities, like you said, allow the parents or family members of students to also get involved. So my next question would be, as a Temple parent, do you feel like you're part of the community, aside from the fact that you are an alum, but do you feel like you're part of the community? If so, how have you been able to get involved in Temple as a Temple parent?
Sure. So I've actually gone to, like I mentioned earlier, I've gone to Phi Sig events. I went to the bowling event. I also went to an event where it was a Sunday lunch brunch type of event. And what was really nice about that too is I met other parents. So it was really nice that we could share our stories. And I also got involved with when she was selecting her apartment, and the other parents of the students that she was rooming with. We did that together. So we met with the landlord, and it was very nice situation. It was very transparent. We're paying the bill, or in some cases paying part of the bill, and it was just kind of nice to know that where she was living, there was a landlord, a real person, that if they did have a problem with their heat or their, air conditioning or whatever, there was a real person that they could go to. Because this was the first time for them as students to really, have their own place and to be paying a lease and all those things. So things like that. I've also gone to many sporting events. I've gone to homecoming, football games, basketball games, and they've all been just great times. Sometimes I go by myself and stay out of her hair. Other times, I've gone and we've met down there. I've also met her outside of campus, for lunch. We've also met at the Drought Horse for lunch, on various occasions. So there's great opportunities for parents to come down and visit. So I would encourage them to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Yeah, it's just showing that, college doesn't have to be a situation where, you send your kid off to school and it's their experience. I feel like Temple does a great job at making sure that parents or family members, guardians have that opportunity to get involved and almost make it, their experience as well.
Exactly, Austin. I kind of find it's a balancing act.
I don't know if it's technical difficulties. Could you hear me, Steve? Not sure. It might be that we have some technical difficulties, but as Steve was saying, there are a lot of opportunities for parents to get involved. One of the first things is move-in, which are coming up at the end of the summer for parents who are going to be dropping their students off to live in our residence halls before the fall semester starts. So that's certainly the first opportunity for the incoming class and parents to get involved. So again, I think we are having some difficulties with Steve. I only had one other question. So, oh, there you are, Steve.
Sorry about that. Yeah, something happened there where I had to just log back in.
No, not a problem. I was just jumping in and saying about how the first opportunity for this incoming class and their parents to get involved is probably most likely move-in, which is, the opportunity to bring your son or daughter down to school, move them in, get to know campus a little bit, and that's probably going to be their first experience as a, part of this new Temple community.
Yeah, move-in day is actually, a great opportunity because there's, a little bit of downtime, so you have an opportunity to meet with other parents and families and things like that. And I remember doing that. And it's also, I call it organized chaos, if you will, because it's just amazing. It's the way it's run. You are in and out relatively quick, and they don't basically just throw everybody out there at the same time in a given hour. It's spread out. So I remember it was not painful at all. And it was an opportunity to meet her roommate's parents, and it was a good experience all the way around.
Great. Well, that's awesome. All right, so I just have about 2 more questions.
Sure.
One of the other questions that's definitely important, I know a lot of parents, it's at the top of their mind, same with students, maybe paying for their education. So financially speaking, are you satisfied with the cost and the value of the education that your daughter received?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those situations where she was ready to go to school out of state. And when I think about the amount that it would have cost us, it would have been a lot of debt. And what's really great is that Temple, of course, being a state school, we live in Pennsylvania, we have that advantage. But even if we had been out of state, it's still reasonable. And I feel that, it's really what you want to make of it. You can make it into an incredible scholastic academic experience, if you will. Like she's a pretty serious student, being that she's in the honors program and a good student. And she feels as though she received an education on par with that she would have received in any other Ivy League school or anywhere else. So, when I look at the value of that, absolutely. Also, when I look at the fact that she was able to do things like study abroad, and that was affordable, it really added to the enrichment of her entire college experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And nowadays, which is great, is that we have these brand new merit scholarships for incoming freshmen. But we also have other scholarship opportunities at Temple that are well known. You work with your career center or your advisor within your school or college, and you can certainly find outside scholarships to apply for that can help, offset the cost. But like you said, Temple is very affordable. So it's nice that, the student and the parent feel like the value they're getting is strong, because it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even, when you just sort of look around and all you have to do is turn on the TV and see the broadcasters on, whether you're in Philadelphia or whether you're watching ESPN, where Kevin Nagandi is on every morning, you can see Temple's influence basically throughout your viewing experience. So I think that speaks volumes for the school. And I know, being a graduate from the business school, I see people that are quite accomplished. In fact, I just interacted with somebody who's a CIO, I believe, of Lincoln Financial, who's an alumni from Temple U. So yeah, the owls are everywhere.
They are, exactly. All right, so we're going to end on one more question.
Sure.
So for the parents of incoming freshmen that'll be maybe joining us in the fall, or for future parents, what advice do you have for them to maybe get involved at Temple, or with the college search process? Any advice that you can provide?
Sure. So I would encourage parents and students, of course, to go to different types of colleges, if you will, small, large, suburban, urban, if you will. And you'll know when your student feels it, because that's what's really it comes down to. And I say this whether they make their selection at Temple University or whether they make their selection somewhere else. It's really all about them. So, you really want to empower the student to experience it. One thing my daughter did, which I thought was a great idea that she came up with on her own, is she actually shadowed friends of her in various places. She didn't do that. I don't think she did that at Temple, but she did it at a couple other places where she might have had some doubts. And it really helped her understand sort of the more day in the life type of experience. And it helped validate, where her head was at as far as selecting school. So I would say, and I stayed out of her hair, like I would just basically, if it was out of town, get a hotel, go elsewhere, and just let her experience it in her way. And so, again, I would empower the student to really do everything possible, because they're the ones who are going to be living this life for 4 years. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. All right. Well, Steve, thank you so much. It's really great. I'm sure for me, it's great to hear from a parent of a Temple student, but also for incoming parents or future parents to get that, inside information to make them feel a little bit more comfortable about this process and about Temple in general. So thank you.
It's my pleasure, sure. And if any parents want to drop me a line or whatever, they can find me on Twitter, Steve Levine 1. I'm on there quite a bit, and also, feel free to look me up on, LinkedIn or any other social network. So.
Great. And speaking of that, here at Admissions, we do have social media networks as well. So I currently manage them. So I manage our Twitter account, our Instagram account, constantly on there day in and day out, posting information for students, but also for parents. A lot of times it's fun just to see the photos of campus and feel like you're connected, even if you're not on campus and you're further away. So
Absolutely.
Find us on Twitter or on Instagram. Our accounts are admissions2u. And again, thank you for watching. And again, thank you, Steve, so much for participating. And we wish you all the best and your student. And go Owls.
Cool.